Morning, Pradnya, and good to have you with us on this Monday morning. And so, as I told you before, we are doing this 60 days, 60 voices. So we are, getting thought leaders across a wide spectrum: civic society, government, financial institutions, EDOs, etc., to come in and talk to our our viewers about what they are seeing about COVID, and how are they helping, uh, their stakeholders respond, and so on, right? So first, I'll start with a quick introduction of deAsra. So deAsra is a Pune-based entity which is committed to mass entrepreneurship. And I saw this morning you've helped 77,535 entrepreneurs. So that's an amazing stat over a period of time. And our speaker today, Pradnya, has spent her work life is really in two parts. I think she spent the first 16, 17 years of her life as a techie, as they say, in Cognos and in Persistent. And then I think about 6 or 7 years ago, decided to move to the social sector. So I think she brings the best of both worlds, an understanding of technology and an understanding of what it will take to use technology to shape to make an impact in the social world, right? So with that, Pradnya, thank you again for joining us. And so what I thought as a start with is get some perspective from you. It's now been close to 7 weeks since the lockdown effectively started. And how are you? What are you seeing? And what are you hearing from your entrepreneurs? How are they coping? And so on.
Thanks, Amisal. Thanks for having me here. Times are tough, right? There's no debate about that. But there are certain things that we've been talking with our entrepreneurs about in terms of what they are doing, what they could be doing right now. And one of the main themes that has been coming out is to stay connected to the customers. All of them realize and understand that in this time, even if there is not much business happening, their customers are important. Loyalty is important. Various means of reaching their customers and talking to their customers in terms of what customers might be facing. Even small things like groceries not reaching the customer's door is a concern for customers. So they are talking to their customers, they are innovating. So in terms of deliveries, they're taking orders through digital means, doing deliveries, home deliveries. So they're really listening to their customers, staying connected, also innovating. Like I said, if they were not on aggregator platforms before, for example, they are taking the effort to go on to the aggregator platforms to make sure that they are finding different means of making incomes to happen. And really looking at different ways of staying connected and delivering as well. So our academic coaching, for example, or other classes like dance, Zumba, yoga, all of them have switched to a Zoom or Skype or those kind of sessions, and they continue to work with their customers. Thereby sort of decreasing the customer's anxiety levels, still giving the customer what they want, but doing it in different means. So I think staying connected is the main thing that they're doing. Of course, cash crunch in our kind of entrepreneur community is one of the main challenges. And they're really introspecting to see if they're prepared to overcome the cash crunch, how the spends can be restricted, looking at what can be done with staff. Can staff be repurposed, reskilled, given other things to be done in this time? Looking at spends on utilities or stock, how can that get reduced? So really looking at spends, also looking at book of accounts, right? So if they haven't been maintaining it before, realizing that they're going to require funds later, and they need to have their is their side of things in place to be eligible for the funds that will start coming in, or the schemes that will start coming in. So introspecting to see that their book of accounts are in place, their financials are doing well. That's another thing that our community is doing, really getting prepared for post-down kind of activities. And in some cases, we are also seeing that business owners are looking inward into their business to see if any of their products or services were not doing that well, what they could have done differently, what they can do better as soon as the lockdown, sort of things open up. Was their business viable despite, forget about the lockdown, forget about the crisis. Was it viable in the first place? So really taking a hard look at their businesses is something that some of our entrepreneurs are doing, and seeing at, do they need to do something else? Do they need to pivot post lockdown, given that maybe their businesses were not grabbing the right opportunities? So a lot of introspection happening as well, and a lot of thinking happening. And many of them are also upskilling. They're revising their business skills. They're going to different how-to guides, seeing how they can sort of learn right now while they have the time. Once they get busy, they're going to be really busy. So use this time really well for their own learning needs.
That's interesting. I think the opportunity to introspect, the opportunity to relearn, the opportunity to take a deep, hard, critical look at your business. Obviously in the hurly-burly of normal operations, people don't get that opportunity, but it's interesting to see, that a lot of them seem to be doing that. Now you support a variety of entrepreneurs across a variety of disciplines, right? Beauty and small retail and so on, right? So which of the sectors are you seeing where there's been the maximum impact, and what are you recommending to those people they should be doing?
Yeah, so I think the biggest impact is those who were providing more brick and mortar kind of services. So take a beauty parlor, for example. There's no way you can run a beauty parlor without being in close proximity to your customers. Take a kirana shop, right? Take in the food sector, restaurant, or a cafe or a coffee shop. All of these businesses are those where very close interaction with the customers is essential to run the business. So these are the ones which are affected the most. How are they, coping with it? Well, like I said, they're doing the things that I mentioned before, but they're also getting prepared for the lockdown to lift up. So they're thinking about how they're going to function once the once business starts to open up. And so let's take an example of a beauty parlor. So social distancing is not going to go away. People need to feel safe. Customers need to feel safe to go into a beauty parlor, right? So our business owners are thinking about reducing the number of chairs, how they can build the confidence of the customer by showing them that they're taking care of good hygienic practices and measures. I just recently I saw that one of the food aggregators, right, they are making sure that they're telling their customers at every point of the delivery how the delivery person is, what steps he is taking. Temperatures are getting checked, and you get a message. You have messages coming in once a sanitizer is used, and that just builds confidence. So for things like beauty parlors, for things like restaurants, business owners are really thinking about what social distancing is going to mean to them, how they can guarantee or at least build confidence with the customer that they are safe in their hands, that they are taking the right and appropriate measures, and it's okay for customers to feel comfortable coming to them. So these are the more face-to-face kind of businesses are the ones who are really thinking hard on how to do these things. They're also looking at technology, MSR. So in terms of, how can there be contactless payments? So we've been saying cashless so far, but now it's really become essential to reduce the number of contact transactions, if you will, that need to happen. So, things like, can I go on Google Pay? Can I go on UPI? Can I get on some
So
e-commerce?
all digital
Yeah,
forms of payment, yeah.
right. How can I get digital to help me to help customers? That's really, again, the thought process. How do I give appointments? How do I take orders without meeting the customer and, reduce that social contact over there? So any place in the entire workflow where there is a social contact happening, they're really inspecting that to see how can I make this safe? How can I build confidence? And what can I do differently using technology to build that confidence and that safety within my.
One last question, Pradnya. Now, this is a unprecedented situation, once in a lifetime event, hopefully. And so what do you think, the various stakeholders, which is government, civic society, financial institutions, and of course, entrepreneurs and EDOs and so on. What do you think can be done to increase the level of collaboration to solving for the collective?
Yes, I think, this is a big problem, like you said. A lot of us need to come together to solve this, to help small businesses. I think one of the things that is really required right now is to bring some kind of an emergency loan into the system, some kind of a scheme to the system to alleviate some of the cash crunches that are required. So if all of us can come together, pool our resources to make that happen. I think it's also important to make market linkages to happen. The businesses really require to see that uptick in terms of customers. If big companies can come forward and look through their supply chains and see where there are opportunities for small businesses to contribute and really make that happen. If civic society can come forward and decide to go local, instead of go to your local grocer, go to your local business and buy from them. That's one way of keeping them going. If you can pay in advance and get supplies or services later, that's another way of helping. So so I think some of these things need to happen as a collective, and not just government, not just private institutions, but also people in general need to understand the importance of supporting small businesses and really go out of the way to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate very very simple but very concise and very precise points, and some things which I think I think particularly how technology can be better leveraged, how people have to repurpose their businesses now to adjust to the new normal, and so on. So thank you for your time, Pradnya, and look forward to much tighter engagement between GAME and deAsra in the times to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amisa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.